Welcome everyone to the DAZN Soccer Show. It's myself, Adi Oladipo, former Arsenal and England forward Leanne Sanderson, and former Sheffield United, Man City and Leeds midfielder Michael Brown. Let's talk about one of the hottest prospects in world football right now. I think one of the best young players that we've seen in years. Should start for England at the World Cup, and that's Jude Bellingham, obviously plying his trade now at Borussia Dortmund. Just how good do you think Jude Bellingham is? You know, we get excited, don't we? We've seen England have so many superstars in the past. Owen, your Rooney's, Foden's there as well. Where is Jude in all of this?
I think he seems different to me because I think he's been quietly going about his business at Dortmund for a number of years now, captaining the team at times this year, and he plays way beyond his years for me. You know, his awareness and his ability to be able to get out of situations, I think, you know, he has to start at the World Cup. But having said that, following on before the Nations League tournament, he wasn't playing, was he, for England? In Euros, minimal minutes, you know, not really getting a look in. Whereas now it's almost like Gareth Southgate's thought, actually, now is the time. 19 now, right?
19.
You know, when he first came onto the scene, he was so 16, 17. And again, I feel like he's playing beyond these years. So I think in England, we're too quick to draw comparisons to any type of young players. And I hate comparisons because I think let him be Jude Bellingham, the Jude Bellingham we know he can be. But I think until Jude Bellingham leaves Dortmund, and that's no disrespect to Dortmund because I like them, I think he'll always be linked to Liverpool or Manchester City or a team in England because he's from England.
Yeah.
But for me, I think he's developed in Germany. I think a lot of players like Jadon Sancho went over to Germany and developed. And I think it's been a good opportunity for him to go there. And fair play to him because not a lot of young players at that time were actually going overseas.
Yeah, he's making that move at 16 as well, which is incredible, right? Having to completely change life and lifestyle at such a young age. Michael, look, you're a midfielder. What makes him so good? You look at him and he looks like from the outside looking in that he can play every position, the 8, the 4, maybe even a 10 potentially in the future. What makes him so good?
Well, I think he's got everything, hasn't he? You've seen him as a young age developing. Obviously, Dortmund come in, take him, and then give him that platform. And about how level-headed he is and mature for such a young boy tells you everything. He's given the captain's armband, just takes it in his stride. He's getting better and better. Jurgen Klopp speaking so well about him. Pep Guardiola as well. I think that tells you everything that both of those managers would like to sign him. Obviously, the England situation's got better. Calvin Phillips missing games, so he's allowed him to come on internationally as well. So that's going to be a battle. Calvin Phillips close to fitness. Who will play in that role with a Declan Rice? But listen, the other thing as well is the head of Adidas UK has gone to work for him for like a PR. So there's something developing in Jude Bellingham that's going to get bigger and better. He looks at Erling Haaland and says, right, he's gone to the Premier League, huge success globally as well. So I feel like that's the type of move. I thought Liverpool had him. I thought that deal was very, very close. But will we have a late runner in it? He's going to move at some point. Wonderful talent. But again, however mature he is, I think helps the situation, which just makes it so much more attractive for these clubs to go and take him.
I think as well, like him going overseas alleviated that pressure because I think in England sometimes we put too much pressure on any player, let alone young players, and start saying, they're the next big thing. Let them be whoever they want to be at that moment in time. And I think Jude Bellingham's gone to Dortmund and kind of been allowed to do whatever he wants to do. And he's grown into the player he is at this point because do you really think at 19 years old they would have given him the captaincy at any club in England?
No.
Maybe Birmingham when he was there because I know they still respect him, but I don't think they would do that. Oh, he's too young. And that's why I like what Mikel Arteta did at Arsenal, giving Odegaard the captaincy, because for me, age is only a number. If someone's showing those leadership qualities, then give him the armband. And the fact that Jude Bellingham is 19 with the armband of a top club like Borussia Dortmund.
Has he got to move now? Do you say in this summer, it's now while he's such a hot talent, does he need to sort of force that move to go to a club who's going to challenge for the titles and the Champions League?
I think so. I mean, I think depending on the World Cup, I think he has options, doesn't he? It's a matter of when he wants to leave, when his contract's up. I mean, he was talk about him going to Man United, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Before he went to Dortmund, there was talk about him going to Manchester United and everyone was being linked to this young superstar. And obviously he chose Dortmund because he realised that would probably be a better place for him to develop. And he's probably right. Because imagine Jude Bellingham would have gone to Manchester United at 16 at probably the worst time as a Manchester United player at that moment. It was in a weird transition.
Yeah, look, we've seen young players go to United. Zaha is one of them, and it just didn't work, did it? We've seen young players try and go there, and it hasn't worked. What is it about young players now? This is to both of you. Like, I remember if you sort of don't make it in your squad, you go on loan to a championship side, right? That's how it works. what is it about young players now that are deciding to go abroad? Because it seems to work. It's perfect. They go abroad, they get Champions League experiences, big grounds, big atmospheres. They come back as superstars. Why has that shift happened now as opposed to what they used to do 15, 20 years ago, which is you go to Championship, you go maybe on loan to a League One side, and then you make your way back up again?
I think it was a fear before because of not being in the window of the international, especially if you're an English player. But I mean, that's almost a myth because you can watch the games. But again, we obviously talk about the Premier League in England like it's our religion. So if a player is doing well, everybody in world football will know, won't they? Whereas I'm sure a lot of people don't hear what someone's doing in the MLS. And that's not because that league is awful. It's just because there's not as much visibility.
Yeah.
And the Premier League is the best place in the world, the best for visibility. But we've seen Jadon Sancho, Hudson-Odoi now at Leverkusen,
Michael Edwards.
Yep. Just scored against Tottenham. So, these things, I think now the young players are seeing, actually, I can develop as a player and come back. Because if anything, Jadon Sancho, look how much better he looked at Dortmund than he does at Man United now. So it clearly does work to go overseas.
Yeah. Michael, what's he worth? Go on. I mean, look, there's going to be a bidding war for him, right? I mean, 100 million might not get his left boot nowadays. That's how crazy football is. But what's his worth, and what do you think he does do? In the summer, he probably will leave Dortmund, I think it's fair to say. Is it Real Madrid? Is it Liverpool? Is it United? Where do you think best suits him?
Well, I may be slightly biased if you're going to say where's best under Pep Guardiola. I would say in that midfield area, Ilkay Gundogan obviously be leaving City at some point. So maybe I'm slightly biased, but I would say...
Michael, stop, Michael.
No, but I would see that as the
everything.
right selection. So I agree with you, right? Liverpool need that sort of dynamics in their midfield three. Now with them falling away slightly, if you're a young man in Jude Bellingham, do you say, right, where's my safest position at the moment? Liverpool need to improve. If that deal's not done, and you're looking as a young man thinking, right, which are my options? Here's the level of finances, what it's cost to go. This is what I'm going to get paid. Which club is the safest bet for Jude Bellingham at this moment in time? And you would say it's Manchester City. And I know it's under Pep Guardiola. He's watched Erling Haaland go on and do it. It's just whether they could reach that amount of money. There's uncertainty at Liverpool at this moment in time. That would be the one I thought was a definite do. They got to go and sign him for me, Liverpool. They've got to make sure it's a done deal. Because Pep Guardiola in that press conference only recently hinted he's in for him. There was a little hint. And I think that tells you Ilkay Gundogan is going to move on. So the slot is almost there for him.
How much then? You haven't answered the question.
100 million. Listen, it's got to be 100, hasn't it, Leanne? It's going to be around that level. Is there a buyout clause that we don't know? Is there a level already set in? And again, when these big clubs come, they can only stand in his way so much. Their model and Borussia Dortmund don't be to say, well, we're going to price out our youngsters because they need to see that they can move on again. So they can't then hold the best talent like they didn't with Erling Haaland. I know it was written in and probably should have got more money. It might be slightly different on this situation. But you've got to be able to see that development to continue with their model. And I think that'll be so important in this deal.
I think for me, like it has to, when you look at, if we're comparing it to other players and how much they've gone for, I always look at Harry Maguire, people like Kepa, Arrizabalaga going for like 80, 90 million. I think for me, Jude Bellingham, at least 100 at this point. I can't believe we're talking about 100 million pound footballers in this.
It's crazy to think that if Liverpool haven't got something already written in place, then I think they might be outpriced. Everyone seems to think Liverpool have got the deal done.
About 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Why is that? Maybe you might be able to shed some more light.
I wish I could. I don't know. Very quickly on England, right? You see him and Declan Rice in the midfield, two youngsters, right? You almost look at Declan Rice. He looks like a 30-year-old in terms of his playing, but he's so young as well. Who do you think going forward will eventually be England's captain going forward? I mean, Harry Kane's got maybe 3 or 4 years left, so it still will be him. But after, it almost seems a straight shootout between Declan Rice and Jude Bellingham. Who do you think it will be?
Oh, that's a difficult question because I think, obviously, if it was now and Harry Kane was going to...
Declan, isn't it?
Then it would be Declan. But I think long term, I mean, Jude Bellingham's still got time. He's so young that Declan Rice, they'll still play a number of years together, but there's no reason why he can't be the future England captain. But then again, this goes back to putting that pressure. Like, why are we talking about a 19-year-old being England captain at this moment in time? Do you know what I mean? So for me, I think Declan Rice and let Jude do his thing, and hopefully he can help us win a World Cup.
Yeah. England free in the midfield. Who starts? What's your free in the midfield? If he does do a free, what's your free? Like, my free is Jude, Declan, and sort of Foden in a 10, just floating.
Yeah, I'm having Jack.
What do you think?
I'd have Jude.
Yeah.
Declan.
Yeah.
And Jack Grealish.
You and your Jack Grealish.
I'd play Saka out wide instead of Foden. I think Saka for England is different. I think Foden for City, amazing, but for England, doesn't produce like the way Saka
Go on, Michael. You got the final say. What are you saying?
It's so difficult. It depends if he's going to play that 3 at the top, which we've seen Gareth do so much, haven't we? Like a 3-4-3. I think personnel is going to be difficult for him, whether a Kyle Walker, Trent Alexander-Arnold, we've seen Reece James. I think that's going to be a key area, centre-back wise, whether he goes with 2 or 3, to how it affects further forward. So I'm dodging the question slightly. Calvin Phillips as well did so well for Gareth Southgate. So will Calvin Phillips find a home next to Declan Rice with a Bellingham? Foden gives you everything. Saka's been incredible. So I just think he's got a few different situations. Raheem Sterling's been good for England, but he's not playing well for Chelsea at this moment in time. So will that affect Gareth Southgate's choice?
Yeah, so many options, but a lot of those options centre around, I think Jude Bellingham is one of the best players in world football right now. Another good thing about Jude, very quickly, 9 goals this season for Borussia Dortmund. That's been the one thing that maybe people said, okay, can he score goals? He's now scoring goals as well. So 100 million could be 200 million. Thank you to Leanne Sanderson, and thank you as well to Michael Brown.